What I'm about to tell you might make you question a lot of things in your life. And maybe finally, you'll understand why. Even though you pray, fast, and go to church, you still feel distant from God. The truth is, there's an invisible enemy, sneaky and silent, hiding in the small choices of your daily life. He doesn't show up with horns or a pitchfork. He shows up as distractions. Too many video games, endless social media, binge-watching shows, bad company, silent addictions. Small pleasures that slowly drain your spiritual energy until one day you wake up and realize you no longer hear God's voice like you used to. And the most shocking part, most people don't even realize they're drifting until it's already too late. But there is a way back, and I'm not here to give you an empty sermon or generic advice. I'm here to share something that changed my life. Because yes, I've been in that place too. And what saved me wasn't willpower, it was replacement. It was the exchange of bad habits for good ones. Because evil isn't defeated by resistance alone, it's defeated by purpose. And in that process, I discovered 5 habits that pulled me back into God's arms. 5 habits that not only restored my faith, but ignited a fire in me I didn't even know was still burning. And the first one was learning to walk alongside someone who had already walked the path before me. 1 Timothy 1:18 says, "This charge I entrust to you, Timothy, my child, in accordance with the prophecies previously made about you, that by them you may wage the good warfare." Timothy wasn't a Roman soldier. He was a soldier of God. And Paul, his spiritual mentor, treated him like a son. That made me think about all the Pauls who have crossed my path. Older men, firm in the faith, who didn't just speak words, they lived them. One of them was my uncle, a pastor for more than a decade in the Philippines. In a conversation on my podcast, he told me how he was betrayed and robbed by someone on his own team. And even so, he prayed for that person. He forgave. That broke me. Because in that moment, I saw what real grace looks like. That's when I understood that spiritual maturity isn't something you learn alone. It's passed down. It's handed from generation to generation, like a torch in the darkness. And if you want to grow closer to God, seek out older Christians who bear the scars of spiritual warfare. Talk to them. Learn from them. Because you can read the entire Bible, but some lessons can only be taught by experience. Another habit that transformed me was taking care of my body. And maybe it sounds strange to mention this in a video about spiritual life, but look at what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 9:27. "But I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified." Do you get it? Paul knew that bodily discipline was part of spiritual warfare. Because if you can't say no to laziness, to gluttony, to comfort, how will you say no to sin? Jesus, in the Garden of Gethsemane, sweated blood as he asked for the cup of suffering to pass. But even then, he said, "Not my will, but yours be done." Do you think he wanted to die? Of course not. But he overcame the flesh. He overcame himself. And do you know what helped me start living that out? Exercise. Yes, physical exercise. Because every time my body wanted to stay in bed and I said no, I was training my soul to obey. I was preparing my spirit to resist. And there's more. I struggled with depression. I felt dim, drained, directionless. And you know what I found in the darkness? A simple habit that changed my inner chemistry. Walking outdoors, moving, breathing deeply, taking care of God's creation, and the temple where the Spirit dwells, my body. Because how can I serve God if I can't even get out of bed with energy? Don't be fooled. The devil wants you weak, spiritually, emotionally, physically, because a tired, distracted, and sick man poses no threat to hell. But you can fight back. You can start now. And you don't need to change everything at once. Start with something small. Swap 5 minutes of scrolling your phone for 5 minutes of prayer. Replace an empty conversation with coffee with someone who's walked with God longer than you. Trade one episode of a show for a walk with worship music in your ears. These small exchanges build a completely different life. And if you've made it this far, it's because God is calling you. He wants to restore what the world has slowly been breaking down in you. But that restoration begins with a choice, a decision, a step. Because the 1,000-mile journey of faith begins with a simple yes. The question is, will you take that step now or keep postponing it until God's silence becomes deafening?